Big oil and gas have historically made decisions that threaten the very existence of the Rice's whale, and yet H.R. 6008 will give them a prime seat at the table in determining how we manage the future of these whales. As for the Rice's whale itself, no seat at the table under H.R. 6008. Whales can't advocate for themselves, so they're lucky that they have scientists and communities who advocate for them. What my amendment would do is to make sure that scientists and these communities affected by oil and gas can raise their voices. The people who live near their habitat, the scientists who study ecology, should have a voice, and this amendment would make sure that they do. Today, I'd like everyone to consider this Natural Resources Committee to be a natural habitat. The habitat has to accommodate the 45 members of this committee, plus a handful of the essential staff. So let's say our habitat has to support 51 humans. And the 51 of us are well positioned to thrive here. Our habitat is stocked with essentials that we need, air and water. And even more importantly, if we don't have what we need in our habitat, we have the power to speak up and get it. Because this habitat consists of members of Congress. We have immense power and resources. None of us are afraid to say what we think, and we know people will listen. So I'm curious, how well would the 51 of us survive if our habitat changed? Let's say that Big Oil discovered that there's oil under the committee room floor and they want to drill for it. We can't abandon our habitat, but imagine we only have the voice of an animal species. So we can't counter the money interests coming in to destroy our habitat because we can't even voice our concerns. Unlike us, though, Big Oil has power and a voice. They're going to purchase their way right into our habitat without having to consider our survival or make accommodations for it. So here's the big question. How long could the 51 of us survive in this habitat with the inhospitable conditions Big Oil would create? Our number would dwindle pretty rapidly. After all, 51 is a small number. Losing even one female could eliminate the future of the population. The creatures of the Natural Resource Committee would soon become extinct. Who would let something like this happen? If this committee passes this bill as written, that's exactly what's going to happen to the Rice's whale, which only has 51 members of its species left. Pollution is the #1 threat to the Rice's whale, which is how this whale died. Oil spills from offshore drilling operations are considered one of the greatest threats to this species. For example, Deepwater Horizon spill, one of the worst disasters our country has ever seen, is responsible for killing nearly 20% of the Rice's whale population. I believe in having good, hard data to make decisions about significant federal rules and regulations, and that data should be the subject of a rigorous peer review process. But peer review, and I know this because I was a professor who used to publish peer-reviewed studies, requires objective reviewers. Journals, publishers require reviewers to disclose any financial interests and ask reviewers to recuse themselves if they have a financial interest and can't be objective, and that maintains the integrity of the data. I trust the national academies to review science thoroughly and objectively, but I don't trust the oil and gas industry to do the same. When record profits are on the line, do we really trust them to be objective? This is like letting the fox design the chicken coop with regard to the Rice's whales. So my amendment simply levels the playing field. Stakeholder engagement is important, but we need to make sure that every stakeholder is heard. We need to make sure the communities and the scientists that understand what the population and understand the consequences of devastating it, the environmental and health consequences, are able to be heard and have a voice at the table, not just Big Oil. So when it comes to polluters and major decisions that are changing the trajectory of our planet's climate, affected communities deserve a seat at the table, and rigorous peer review science should govern. My amendment includes the same language defining consultation privileges for the oil and gas industry in H.R. 608, and it extends those consultation opportunities to communities affected by oil and gas activities. I urge my colleagues to support the adoption of this amendment, and I yield back.